Yay! Hi, 2 viewers. We're just gonna give the people a couple minutes to get in, and then I will get started. This session is a look into my particular class that I have right now. And then if you're attending the second session, we'll talk about some more tools that I use more generally. As I'm chatting, the group chat feature isn't working the way it should, but there are a lot of different ways to get your questions answered. So if you want to comment below the video on YouTube, you can comment. If you want to send me a message on Google Classroom, that can work too. This is really just an introduction, and as we move through to your practicum, hopefully we can help you get the tools that you need to do what you want in your classroom here in Canada, and then when you get back to Spain. All right, so I've got 7 viewers. I know a lot of people hit the first session before it filled up. So I'm gonna get started, and then I will post the video after it's finished, and you can watch it again if you missed the first little bit. So a little bit about me. My name is Amanda Anderson, and I teach at Woodruff High School. I teach languages, so I'm teaching new Canadians how to speak English. My students have been in Canada for around a year, and so we're working towards getting them to grade level. So right now they're reading at a kindergarten grade 1 level, and they need to be reading at about a grade 5 level in order to participate in high school level classes. So that's where I'm from. So I'm experienced in teaching people English, as I'm sure some of you are teaching your students English or even content in English back in Spain. I also teach online fashion. My teachables are in history, social science, native studies, ESL, lots of things. I also have my qualifications in special education as well. So I noticed in the discussion board, there are some guidance folks here. So if you want to chat at all about supporting students in that way in special education, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. All right, so let's pop into my Google Classroom. I use Google Classroom with my ELD students, my ESL students this semester, and I use what you're using, the virtual learning environment of Brightspace with my fashion class. And as Brightspace changes, I might move my ELD students over to Brightspace, but right now I'm using Google Classroom. So I'm going to share my screen with you. So just give me a second to turn my camera off, share it, and I'm going to go to my Google Classroom. So this is a live class, my semester right now. This is a place where my students can interact in the classroom after they leave the building. It's also a great place for them to communicate with each other and with me when we're not always there at the same time. Like right now I'm here talking to you and I'm not with my students. So it's a good way for them to know that there's this space outside of the school that is welcoming, and it's got me in it and their friends, and they can interact in it. So this is the second semester I've used Google Classroom with my students, and it's worked out pretty well. If I scroll down my Google Classroom, you can see it's used fairly regularly. I posted today, yesterday, a couple of days before that. So it is a place where I am in. It's not just about learning. Sometimes it's about announcements. I reminded them that there was a test and that they're supposed to wear their school jersey. It's also a place where I post assignments. So I'm sure you're doing assignments in Google Classroom as well. So I'm just going to gloss over this because I'm hoping that you know about it. But it's a place where I can just say easily click on the work for today and do it, and they know where to go. One of the things I wanted to show you is a hyperdoc. So this is something that my students are working on right now. And I read all the discussion board postings, and I noticed that a couple people really wanted to know how to blend in a way that really keeps traditional elements at play as well. So not just going to everything online all the time. That's not blended. So let's look at this hyperdoc and see how I'm blending. So a hyperdoc is basically a special Google Doc. So I created a Google Doc. I made a table, like information table in here, and I put the students' pictures in here. So here's everybody in my class. I'm just gonna make it smaller so we can see the entire thing. So here's everybody in my class, but the thing that makes this special is this is an interactive document. So it looks simple, but if you click on a student, you can see this link pop up. And the way that you do this is pretty simple. You can make anything a link. You can make Word a link. So if I wanted to make this a link, I just have to pick what I want to make a link, and then I have to pick what I want to link it to. So let's say I wanted to link it to a video about hyperdocs. So here's this video about hyperdocs. I've taken the URL and I click this little insert link button. And when I click it, I just paste that link that I just stole right there. So now students could click on this, watch a video. It's a really useful tool, especially if it's only one page, because it gives your students access to a whole bunch. So let's take a look at one of the students' infographics. An infographic is a way of showing visual information. Let's just make it a little bigger here. So what I did is I used a program called Canva, C-A-N-V-A. And the thing that I like about Canva is it has lots of templates or layouts. So you can see here on the side, stuff that they've already created. And you can basically change that to be whatever you want. So let's say I like the idea of this, which is the template that I gave my students, but I want them to put their information in. So now I have this template here that I can give to them, and then they just have to delete out the information and put their own information in. So it really helps them get used to the program, and then maybe when they're more comfortable, I might ask them to create something without a template. But the template gives them an idea of where the information should go and what looks good. So here is the student's interpretation of that template. You'd say she changed some things, like she changed the background, it's no longer a light blue. She changed the image, she wanted a square image instead of a circular image with a filter. But she kept some of the same elements as well. So she's got the pink in the line, she didn't change the way that works. And she changed the heading, but she kept the pictures in a similar shape. So she's made some changes to the original, but it's all her information now. So she's done really well. She's followed the instructions. I told them they needed 6 pieces of personal information up here, and then they need 3 sentences about their family down here. So these are students that are working at about a grade 1 level. So writing 9, 10, 11 sentences is a lot for them, and especially to do it well. So I wanted this to not be too challenging because they're also learning how to create an infographic as well. So they're doing this, but then how is it blended? It seems just like technological integration. It's blended because what they're doing is they are writing a paragraph for a boy in the class and a girl in the class. And that paragraph is by hand, so it's not even on the computer at all. So what they have is they have this computer to look at the infographic, but then they have a lined piece of paper that they are writing their paragraph about. And what I'm looking for here is actually not about graphic design at all. It's about grammar. So you can see that this student writes in first person. I love my family. I like to travel. I am studying. But when you're writing about someone else, you need to change the pronouns and you need to change the verbs. And so if I was a student writing about Zuka for my project, I would need to say her name, or her first name is Zuka. Her last name is Assad. She is from Syria, but now she lives in Canada. So I need to change all the pronouns, and I need to change the verb to S, or maybe I might even need to change it to past tense or present continuous tense. So what I'm looking for is, can they look and read at this information, and can they change it to not be in first person, and can they edit someone else's work? So for example, we have I from Syria. Well, this gives the student a chance to see that mistake and fix it when they're writing. So instead of writing she from Syria, it would be really good if they could write she is from Syria, and she would understand that this is a spelling mistake. So that's one of the ways I'm using HyperDocs in my classroom. I'd love to get to a point where students are doing a portfolio in HyperDoc. So they pick a couple of things they've done on the computer that are important to them or that they feel they did well on, and then they give me the links to it so I can look at it on my own time. It's pretty easy to create, and there's lots of information on HyperDocs out there to show you how to do it. So I'll give you some of those links after this presentation. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about is Edpuzzle. I'm just going to close out of this. You can see here in my Google Classroom, I have Try It Out, and then I have an Edpuzzle. And I did this as well yesterday. And Edpuzzle is a really cool way of making a video, either one that you've created or one that you find on YouTube or another software, and making it more accessible. So while I talk about Edpuzzle, I want to talk about something that you might have heard about yesterday, about station rotation. So when you're working with technology, you have to keep in mind what technology you have. So in my class, I have 5 Chromebooks that I have access to every single day, but I have 15 students. And not all students have phones, and sometimes the phones aren't charged, and so those student devices aren't very reliable. So one thing that I use in my classroom quite a lot when I'm blending is station rotation. Now I have 15 students, so a lot of the times I have 3 stations. And this makes the lesson pretty dynamic because students are completing 3 tasks and they're moving around the room and they're working with different people. And so it's pretty good. And what I might do is I might have one station where students are working with me, maybe on a reading conference or a grammar concept that they just aren't understanding. But the important thing is they're working with me with no Chromebooks. The second group might be working on something that we were doing in class, like correcting something that they've made a mistake on, like correcting a test, for example, or editing someone else's work, or doing silent reading and comprehension work on their own. The important thing is that at the second and third station, the students need to be able to do it with little help. So they need to be tasks that are accessible to them. That group that's working with you, that could be a group where you're working on something harder, but you don't want to have to always leave the group that you're working with to help the other people at the other stations. So just to review, we have one group. See if we can get an image for this. We have one group that is working with me, not on computers. We have one group that is working by themselves, no computers. And then we have one group who's working on the 5 Chromebooks we have. Perfect. Here we go. This is just the image that I want. So this last one is computer-based instruction. And there are so many amazing instructional videos out there to help deliver content. When I was reading your discussion board, someone was talking about finding math content online or science content online. So I want to show you. So Edpuzzle is a software that I use all the time in most of my courses. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. So I have the choice of any video that I can find using these different venues, I guess. So I can have TED Talks, number file, lots of good stuff. But I'm going to pick Crash Course. And let's say I'm a science teacher, and we're looking at systems. Labs. This is good. So I'm looking at labs, and what I do in an Edpuzzle is I add questions to this video. So first of all, you'd have to watch the video and make sure it's good for your group of kids. You can crop things out of Edpuzzle. So if only a part of it you want the kids to watch, you can do that. But other than that, it's pretty much using videos that already exist or making your own. I'm going to show you one of my own. So here we go. So here's a video that I have talking about family words because we were in the family unit. I have a voiceover here. You can see this kind of yellow thing. This is where I'm explaining in my own words, recording my voice, telling them what they need to do. This was really important because I don't want to have to give the instructions to my students myself on the day. Because students will be working on their own, and I'll be working with a different group of students. So I want it to be crystal clear. And the nice thing about Edpuzzle is they can listen to it over and over again. So they can listen to it 2-3 times if they need to understand what's going on. And then if they still don't understand, I encourage them to ask someone at their station to help them before they come to me. I want the least amount of interruptions as possible. You can see, I'm just going to mute my Chromebook. As you go along, there are questions. So we're going to pop this here. The video was talking to them. We've got a family tree. You have a father and everyone in my class has same-sex parents. So the answer would be mother. And then we get more complicated. Sometimes it's a short answer question, but sometimes I use multiple choice. Just skip through and see some of the questions that I was asking for a test. And I could look at their spelling as well. So you can see a 5-minute video. There's a bunch of different questions. On the student video, they have this blue button as well. So if they need to listen to the section again, just the spot between this question mark and this question mark, they can hit the blue button and they can listen to it again. I can also look at their work. So for example, let's try this one. Oops, let's try it over here. Got my class there. It makes it easy to, here's a good one. So I can look at their work, see how they were doing. I've already graded this one, so here we go. I'm looking for correct spelling, and it's all the same question. So I can easily go like, no, yes. And actually when you are grading it, let me find another video for me to grade so you can see it. Let's do this one. So here we go. So question is, when two people aren't together anymore, it is called break up. What is the past tense for break? So past tense for break is broke, and they said that in the video. So this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is right. So you can see it kind of just moves, so you don't have to move your cursor, which is really nice. You can also see if there's problems, because I see that a huge chunk of my class hasn't done it. So maybe that's something I need to talk to my supply teacher about, because that's what they were supposed to do today. So I have more here. You can see it's just really easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can mark things really quickly, and it's good for formative assessment. So that is Edpuzzle, and I really like Edpuzzle for station rotation. One other thing I want to show you, since we're talking about my is Twitter. Huge. So often you know that there's someone out there doing something amazing, and you just don't know what that amazing thing is. So Twitter is a networking tool that a lot of teachers use in Canada and America. And so it's a great information finder. So if you're not on Twitter, I'd really suggest just taking a peek, and I can help you find some good people to follow on Twitter to help you. So every time I open my Twitter, I can see people that I'm interested in, and most of my people are teachers or educators. So this is a this is a teacher who is using Twitter with her class. So you can see she says November 21st, name a part of the brain and its function. And she uses a hashtag. A hashtag is a way of organizing information. So we have JMSS, that's the name of her school. She has HPA, which is the name of her program. She teaches high performance athletes, like people who are training for the Olympics, and they're in very high level competitive sport. And then she has 11, which I'm guessing is the grade. She made this up. So if I click on that hashtag, I can see everything that she's ever put under that hashtag. And she's using Twitter quite often. She's one of my Twitter leaders. And you can see right here that her students are already starting to reply to her. So if I click on her, you can see she has 6 responses. Here she has 11 responses. She's using it on a daily basis. She's using it to ask questions. She's also using it to share information. Like here's a picture on prohibition. She's using it to share information like pick one of these anthropologists and cite your sources. She's using it for a lot of different things. So she's using Twitter with her students. I am not really using Twitter with my students, but I'm using it for me. And how I'm using it for me as a teacher is by following people who are inspirational for me as a teacher, that give me resources and are showing me pictures of things that they're doing with their kids that make me want to try those things. So you can see there's principals on here. There's educational professionals. So she works at Apple in the education department. We have ESL teachers. And if I look at this one, I can see probably things that I might want to try in my classroom. So, oh, look, she's got this nice cafe board here. So maybe I could ask her like how she was doing that, or expanding noun phrases. So dreams, how do I expand that? And they're writing sentences with that. So I can easily just look at her Twitter and see so many cool things that I could put in my own classroom. Twitter is a place for sharing. I can also use hashtags with my own students. So here's a hashtag that I'm using with my kids. We're gonna just wrap it up in a minute. So this is the course code of my course. It's a fashion course. And you can see that I've put the hashtag here because there are certain things I want them to see. So this one here, you'll either love or hate Balenciaga's new platform Crocs. Or here we were talking about adornment and we were looking at the Nine Con Spring collection. So this is a way that I can share with my students some extra information from my class. So they know that it's not just going on in my class, it's in the outside world. Kimberly told me that she showed you my online class yesterday. You just popped into it. But one of the things I like about it is that students don't need to have Twitter in order for me to tweet and show them things. Here, I've got things tweeted to them. And if they want to actually look at it, they can just click on the hashtag and look at it. So I think that's it for the first session. We will get started on the second session in a couple minutes. And please, 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 if there's anything that you need more information about, or you want to learn more, or you have an idea that you want to try but you don't know how, either comment on this video or comment to me on Google Classroom. All right, talk to you later.